a bond between two brothers so strong that nothing can pull them apart. When one of them suddenly vanishes, the other is willing to do anything to be reunited again. The subway bosses were brothers. They've never left each other's sides. They'd be walking, talking, and eating with each other whenever they had the chance. Emmett would help his identical brother, Ingo. He would do the same. They would help each other whenever one needed the other. The two brothers have been there for each other since they were children. They'd even mirror one another's movements for fun. Whenever they were apart, it was almost impossible to act without the other. One couldn't talk, while the other would be quieter and introverted. Without Ingo, Emmett would look around like a lost rockruff. He'd be less optimistic and more worried about where Ingo was and his well-being. He'd stress out easily while still maintaining his broad smile. Without Emmett, Ingo would talk less and be more asocial towards others, and he'd be more monotone and quiet, hoping that Emmett was all right. Emmett and Ingo would take care of each other's Pokemon. If one of the other Pokemon had fainted, the other would throw in a revive so they wouldn't be trounced. If one got sick, the other would try to get the Pokemon back in shape. That brother would feel grateful and thank them for helping out more in battle. They loved to help each other out. One day, when the two were split up, Emmett had to go shopping for the Pokemart while Ingo had to stay home, feeling under the weather. Emmett promised his unwell brother that he'd be back to take care of him and be back as soon as possible. Emmett got all the essentials to make a hot sausage curry, Ingo's favorite since Emmett was around 5. He shoved them all into his bag and rushed to the counter, praying that nothing terrible happened to his brother while he was in the Pokemart. As soon as he paid for all the items, he began to power walk to his house. The two brothers lived in a spacious home past the city subway and down a few blocks. Sweat ran down Emmett's head with each place he passed by, worrying more and more about Ingo. What if he hurt himself while I was gone? What if he tripped when he got out of bed? Emmett's thoughts race as he passes the subway entrance. I'm not too far now, brother. Just a few more blocks and I'll be home, he thought to himself enthusiastically as he picked up his pace. When Emmett passed the third house on the street, he dashed around the street corner and made it straight for the door, fumbling a bit as he tried to find the house keys. As soon as he grabbed them, Emmett turned the keys in the lock and opened the door. Ingo, I'm home. I got you some ingredients for your favorite curry. I thought it would make you feel better, 'cause you weren't feeling well. Emmett smiled. There was no reply from Ingo's room. He'd been in bed the whole morning. He's probably asleep right now, he thought to himself. I'll surprise him with homemade curry in bed, Emmett smiled. He went to the kitchen, put the bag of groceries down on the countertop, and began to prep himself for cooking. Emmett's smile was stuck to his face as he hummed a tune while he chopped up the vegetables. After putting the vegetables in the pot, he steamed the rice. Emmett knew this would take a while, but deep down he wanted to see Ingo happy, just like how he'd go out of his way to make him feel better when he was sick. With all the food now cooked, Emmett grabbed a plate from the cupboard and set it on it. And with that done, I just need to hand it up to Ingo, Emmett exclaimed internally to himself, picking up the plate of curry and walking out of the kitchen. The smell was savory with spice, just like Ingo liked it. Emmett got to Ingo's door and knocked on the door with one carrying the curry with the other. Hey, Ingo, I made you some of your favorite curry. Mind letting me in to give it to you? No reply from the other side. Emmett's eyebrows drooped a bit. I know you did the same for me when I was sick, so doing the same might make you feel not so empty, he happily stated, looking down at the curry. Still, there was no reply from his brother. After pausing for a bit, Emmett faced the door again. I'm sorry, but I'm coming in whether you like it or not. I'm not going to let this curry go cold, especially when I made it for... He stopped speaking as he opened the door. Emmett tilted his head to look inside the room. It was pitch black except for the rays of light seeping through the fabric curtains. Something inside Emmett told him something was amiss, but he couldn't figure out what it was. He exhaled as he slowly opened the door the rest of the way. "Brother, you there?" Emmett still couldn't see in the room, even when he opened the door. "I'm gonna turn on the lights. Hope you don't mind that." Emmett reached for the lights by the door side and flicked them on. Emmett's pupils shrunk as the room lit up. His brother was gone entirely from his bed. Ingo's room was a complete mess, as if a gang had ransacked it. Pillows were on the floor. Everything on the desk was now all over his room, and the closet was almost broken. Emmett immediately put the curry down and dashed into the empty room. His breath quickened as he looked around frantically. "Where did he go? Oh, Arceus, where did he go? He was right here." Emmett's thoughts raced around in his head as he darted around the room, looking under the clutter in his brother's room. "No," Emmett whimpered, grabbing at his head. Tears began to blur his vision. "No, no, 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 no." He kneeled to the carpet floor, arching himself forward. "This is impossible, Ingo." Emmett's mouth began to quiver, gritting his teeth. "No," Emmett muttered through his tears. His brother, his twin, his vital other half, vanished. It was like he was kidnapped while he went out. The light shone down on his crumbling form as the sounds of his weeping filled the room. Later that evening, Emmett sat on the couch, his phone up to his ear, as he detailed his brother's disappearance to the city police. It was like someone broke in," he stifled, wiping his tears away with his wrist. "Just please find him. I don't think I can bear to be without him another second." Emmett's hands shook.
We'll send someone over to investigate the scene. Rest assured we'll be able to get him back one way or another.
"Promise?" Emmett's voice cracked.
Be patient. Some investigations take ages until something comes up.
Emmett looked to the floor as he heard the operator hanging up. "Please, let that be a yes," Emmett thought to himself as he fidgeted nervously in place. Hours passed as the investigators came to check the scene. Emmett was in his room. He had his ear against the wall near Ingo's room, where the two investigators were.
I've never seen this kind of thing before.
The muffled voice of one of the investigators said.
It's like all the objects in that room have been thrown in a way that there'd be some sort of circular space in the middle.
Another investigator injected, resting his thumb and forefinger under his chin. Emmett was confused by what they said and didn't notice the circle beforehand.
I can't find any traces of a break-in nor any broken locks or windows.
One of the investigators pointed out.
You think a ghost Pokemon took him? I don't know, we'll have to take this to the higher-ups.
Emmett felt sweat drip down his face. He wasn't sure what to make of their conversation besides the circle in his room, and that nothing was ordinary about Ingo's sudden disappearance. Emmett heard the two investigators exit Ingo's room. Emmett stepped out from where he stood and faced the two investigators. "Well, anything?" Emmett said with a smile, trying to mask his anxiety.
We're not sure so far. It's bringing up more questions the more we think about it.
One of the investigators replied.
But don't worry, kid.
The other reassured the white subway boss.
We'll get to the bottom of this. It's a complicated deal when it's about a loved one going missing. They either get found by us or they
Emmett's eyes widened in both anger and sorrow, not wanting to hear the investigator finish his sentence. "I don't want to hear it. Just help. Please, just find him, please." His voice was shaky as he stammered his words. Emmett was on the verge of breaking down on the spot and bursting into tears, but he had to hide it due to the fear of that affecting his image. He was one of the subway bosses, after all.
We'll try, son. We'll try.
one of the investigators reassured. The next day, Emmett steered clear of Ingo's room. He didn't want to be reminded of his brother's disappearance. He kept smiling, even though his brother was missing. Trainers in the subway would be confused about why only Emmett was around and not his other half, Ingo. He's busy with something. He's just sick. He'll be fighting me instead. Or it's a family matter, no need to ask further. Now let's battle. He would reply with his usual happy demeanor, though his voice would be shaky to those who had keen hearing. He didn't want other people to know the truth. He knew that failing to do so would cause an uproar. People would think he'd killed him or that people against him and his brother kidnapped Ingo. He had to put on a happy face to hide his issues. He always did. He just wanted to fight trainers, give them their battle points, and just have them leave him alone. When he was alone, though, he'd sit in the very spots where he and his brother would sit, either staring at nothing in silence, or where Ingo sat, remembering the conversations they had. Tears fell from his face as Emmett continued to reminisce about him and his brother, his smile beginning to waver.
Mr. Emmett?
A voice was heard from the subway boss's side. He hid his face with his hat and wiped away his tears, fixing his composure.
Are you okay?
It came from a young trainer with a slightly worried look in their eyes. Why, yes, I'm quite all right. His voice shifted from weak to a more chipper tone. You must be here to challenge me to a battle, hmm? Well then, he paused as he got into his starting battle pose. All aboard! Emmett pointed his finger forward as he sent out his first Pokemon, the trainer following suit. After a long and hard battle, the trainer came out the usual victor, smiling as the lone subway boss' last remaining Pokemon fainted. Bravo! Your strength is unmatched. The subway boss would give the same congratulations message to all of the winning trainers, which was part of the job for the brothers.
Thanks. But
The smile on the trainer's face changes to a puzzled one. It's my brother, isn't it? Emmett said under his breath, hoping the young trainer didn't hear him. The trainer looked to Emmett.
where's Ingo?
Emmett's smile wavered as he felt his left eye twitch. I've been asked that question so many damn times. Do these guys live under a rock or something? Emmett's mind was slowly clouding with anger. Emmett went silent, shaking as he put his clenched fists behind his back. I'm taking care of that. He'll be back. Trust me. His tone was filled with joy and frustration. His fists were shaking as he almost felt veins show up on them.
Okay, thanks for the battle, I guess?
The trainer walked away from Emmett as they exited the carriage. As soon as he knew the trainer was gone, Emmett, with gritted teeth, threw his fist at the seat nearest to him. He punched it repeatedly as tears began to blur his vision, yelling through his teeth and breathing heavily with each punch he threw. The stress of keeping his emotions bottled up was starting to break him on the inside. Emmett began to sob as his punches slowed down to nothing as he fell to the seat. He buried his face in it as his breath slowed down. Why? Emmett slowly got up. Why me? His tears staining the cushion seat. Out of the entire region, why wasn't I taken with him? He looked down at the steel floor, then to that seat again, his face wet with tears as his fists clenched once more. What did I do to deserve my brother being taken from me? Is this some cruel joke? Why does it have to be me? He shot his head up, shouting to the sky, expecting Arceus to give him an answer. Emmett was met with the faint sounds of the trains passing by. He panted, his eyes no longer blurry with tears.
Emmett?
A soft voice from behind made the subway boss quickly turn himself to face the person. It was Elisa, the subway boss's friend. The fashionable electric-type gym leader was always there for the brothers when the two needed it the most, whether it be for emotional support or comfort when things were rough. The white subway boss tries to help himself together, quickly rubbing his eyes with his left sleeve and trying to give a welcoming smile. "Oh, Elisa, I didn't know you were coming aboard today." The blonde woman put her hand on Emmett's shoulder.
Emmett, you don't have to hide your feelings from me.
She gave him a look of reassurance which made him loosen up slightly.
I can see that you're more or less not in the best place right now, but if you have anything you want to say to me, then I'm all.
Emmett once again felt tears run down his face as his smile, along with his happy facade, quickly faded. He's gone, Elisa.
You don't mean Ingo, right?
The lady gave a worried look. Emmett nodded as he struggled to keep himself together. Elisa's eyes widened.
Oh, dear Arceus, I don't know what to say, Emmett.
She looked away for a bit, moving her side bang behind her ear. Me neither. I talked to some investigators a while back, but they haven't said anything yet. It's like they're not even trying. He yelled through his teeth. Elisa stepped closer to the disheveled man, but she was worried that it might make him worse.
Emmett,
Elisa gently held Emmett's hands into hers.
you're the strongest person I know of. I hate seeing you like this. I truly do.
She closed her eyes, feeling Emmett up against her, his head resting on her shoulder. Elisa slowly embraced Emmett. Thank you, Elisa. Thank you for being there for me and him, he weakly responded.
It's okay, Emmett. I'll try to help you out any way I can.
Emmett turned his head to Elisa's. How exactly? Elisa moved back slightly to face Emmett, holding his shoulder.
Well, I know of a library in the city with a section on self-help. Maybe you can give them a read and go from there. They might help you to cope for now. It's called the Univalve Library. It's not too far from here.
She gave Emmett a warm smile. The man sniffled a bit, looked to his side, and then back to the girl. Emmett was silent, then let out a small sigh. Okay, I'll see what I can find there. Thank you, dear Elisa. You're the best. Emmett smiled a bit as he held her hand in his, blushing slightly from her smile. Her kindness and generosity in helping people made the two brothers fond of her. With that, Emmett clocked out of service for the day and went straight to the city's library. Emmett felt drops of sweat run down his face as he arrived at the entrance of the building. Come on, Emmett. It's not that hard. Just find the self-help books, then get back home, he thought to himself. It was hard for Emmett to do stuff without his brother around. He'd have to push himself to do certain things, even more so when people ask him to do specific things alone. It made him freeze and zone out for a few seconds. Hey, mister. Emmett shot his head to face a young boy behind him, holding 5 books to his side. Are you going to move? I need to bring back some books I borrowed, and I want to do it before the deadlines. Emmett snapped out of his trance. Oh. He moved out of the boy's way. My apologies, young man. Do what you must. I'm just thinking about things. Emmett's voice softened slightly as he looked to his side. Whatever. The kid shrugged as he walked right past Emmett into the library, not paying him any mind as the door shut with a ringing bell. As soon as the boy left, Emmett opened the door and was met with a familiar sight. The library has a nostalgic feeling. The warm oak wood floor and seemingly countless shelved books. This sight made the subway boss reminiscent of when he and Ingo were just kids, wandering around the building as they played hide and seek and read the many books within. Then their mother called them to come back home. The two would be hesitant but didn't want to be left behind. The memory made Emmett tear up, and he missed their fond memories together in places like this. He wished he'd have more time with Ingo to take him here just once more. Emmett just wanted to be a kid again with his brother. Emmett kept his composure and pressed onward into the library, no matter how fond the memories were to him. He went to the reception desk, ringing the call bell 2 times, hoping someone would arrive to help him. A person with light brown hair and a red scholar uniform walked by, sitting behind the desk with a calm expression.
Welcome to the Univalve Library. How may I help you today?
Their calm voice made Emmett less tense than before.
Can you...
Emmett felt the words stick and sink into his throat like he suddenly forgot how to speak. How's this so hard? Can you help me find the self-help section? It's just 9 words long. Just spit it out. His mind yelled at him to speak up, but he kept quiet. Can you help me find the self-support Emmett continuously tripped over his own words, but the receptionist interrupted him with a slightly surprised look.
Oh, the self-help section. Yeah, I'll be happy to show you. Follow me.
They got up and walked from the desk to the self-help section. Emmett followed suit. Emmett looked between the different book genres as he walked past them, noticing how most were perfectly flush with the shelf walls.
The self-help section is to your left, which is next to the non-fiction and fantasy books. I hope that helps.
The person stood beside Emmett as he faced them. His expression was blank as he stared back at them. The subway boss opened his mouth a bit. Thank you very much. He clasped his hands together, smiling. As soon as the person returned to the desk, he went to the self-help section. Although they said that the section he was looking for was to the left, he kept going forward, now in the non-fiction section. Emmett looked at all the books and how neatly shelved they were. He scanned the books as he slowly walked by them. He admired the designs of the spines of all of them. A thud came right behind Emmett, making him turn his head a bit. It was a book, but looked out of place with all the others. It was a white, jagged-edged book with gold around the edges with a gray spine. The front and back board had intricate-looking symbols on it, surrounding what looked like a green and red gem in the center of its front cover. The book felt similar to pleather, but was more rough, like softened sandpaper. Strange, Emmett thought to himself as he picked it up closer to the book. Intrigued, he sat down in a nearby seat and opened the strange book, wondering what was inside it. To bring your closer of kin back, the great Arceus will make a sphere from within the lost one last known place. Emmett's mind immediately shot to his brother's room and how the mess left a circle behind.
Hello, sir. Are you planning on borrowing today?
The subway boss slammed the book down in front of the person, looking them straight in the eyes. The sudden noise made them jump in surprise. This one. I need this one. He pushed his index finger to the book like a button. The subway master opened the book to a random page, the Arceus Together Thread Ritual, to bring back a lost one from an ill fate. His eyes widened a bit. Is this for real? This has to be some coincidence, right? The white subway boss thought to himself fearfully as he continued reading. The person was surprised at the man's demand, but obliged anyway.
Okay, sir. Is there anything else that you'd like to borrow from us?
No, Emmett sternly said, picking the book up and holding it tight to his chest. I'm good for now. His volume lowered as he dashed out the door with the book. Ingo, wherever you are, I'm coming, Emmett reassured to himself. His fast-paced walk from the library felt off to him. Emmett felt like there were hundreds of eyes watching him. The breeze was colder, and he quickened his already fast pace as he got closer to his house. As Emmett entered the empty house, it was quiet as death itself. He saw a piece of paper on the desktop next to the door. He put the book down as he went to investigate it. We had to cancel the investigation due to the lack of evidence outside of the mess in the room. It's a great shame that we couldn't find your loved one. We are immensely sorry for your loss and hope you have brighter days. The Kanto Detective Agency. Upon reading the note, Emmett crumpled it and tossed it aside. If they can't do it, then I will. Emmett grabbed the book by its spine and made his way upstairs to Ingo's room. As soon as he got to his door, he stopped himself, hand inches away from the doorknob. Should I be doing this? What if he's actually dead? What if the ritual doesn't work and I end up dying? Or worse? Emmett felt sweat run down his face, his hand still hovering over the doorknob. Screw it. I don't care anymore. If I die, then I'll be with Ingo then. He turned the knob and opened the door. Ingo's room was still as messy as it was, though the circular space was now more prominent, with fewer items in the way. Emmett took a slow, deep breath and entered the circle's center. Okay, let's see here. He opened the book up to the thread ritual. To perform the ritual, you will need the following items: a long piece of thread, 4 candles, chalk, and salt. Emmett was sure he had some of those things lying around somewhere, getting up and walking quickly to the lounge room. He spotted 2 long candles on the countertop, snacking them up without hesitation. He began to look around for 2 more, seeing one on the kitchen table. Grabbing it, he shoved the 3 of them into his pocket and went to find the other one. He went to the bathroom and spotted one inside the tub. Wait, why is this one in a place like this? Oh well, can't look a gift Mudsdale in the mouth, he happily said to himself, stuffing the last candle in his pocket and returning to Ingo's room. Next was a long piece of thread. At first, Emmett didn't know where to look. He could go to the store and buy some. Before he could, Emmett eyed at the coat rack and saw a gray scarf slightly frayed at a corner. Emmett smiled, getting an idea. The scarf was a gift to him by Ingo. He didn't want to ruin it, but it was better than going to the store at that point. Emmett grabbed the corner of the cloth by the thread and began to unravel it carefully. He watched as the scarf came undone with each pull of the line. He stopped as soon as it was as long as his whole arm. This looks long enough to use, right? He asked himself, tucking the thread neatly into his pocket. Next was chalk. Emmett, again, didn't know where to look, but then tried the front lawn next to the kitchen. Conveniently, there was a white stick of chalk near the front door. Emmett was getting a little concerned about all the items he needed being put in specific spots of the house. Nonetheless, he picked it up. A thud was heard as he closed the door, making him swiftly turn his head. Nothing was there, but something hit his feet. Emmett looked down and saw a salt shaker with grains of salt leading a trail to him. What the? Is this a sign? Ingo? He looked to the ceiling, eyes widening a bit. He looked back at the trail, which led to a salt shaker. Picking it up, he was now ready to perform the ritual. He was happy about the idea of seeing Ingo again, to get to be with his beloved brother once more. With all the items in hand, he made it up to his brother's room and set them inside the circle. He looked to the book and began to read the steps. 1. Draw a large circle of salt in the circular space. 2. Draw this symbol in the middle of the circle. The symbol in question looked like 2 figures wrapped in what looked like a thread, holding hands with closed eyes. 3. Place the candles up, 2 vertical to each other and 2 horizontal to each other. 4. Wrap the thread around the candles, making a diamond shape. 5. Light the candles. 6. Close your eyes and repeat the following phrase 5 times. Eno era evu sa etinuer dien ruter sol I eno et uoi. Wait 1 minute, then open your eyes. You will be transported to a white plane of existence, where you and your lost loved one will be. Your loved one will be facing north of you. You cannot touch them until the plane begins to glow red. You must hold their hand and then tell them to close their eyes. You and them will feel as if you are floating. You and them must keep your eyes shut. As soon as you feel you've stopped floating, tell your loved one to open their eyes, then open yours. You will be back to your reality, along with your loved one. All right, seems easy enough. Just light some candles, say some words, and boom, I get Ingo. Simple, he thought to himself cheerfully. He got the salt shaker, taking the top off, and began to pour out the salt into a circle around him. He didn't remember refilling the last time he used it, let alone it being this full. Emmett got the chalk and began copying down the drawing in the book onto the circle's center. After that, he set the candle up just like the book instructed. He grabbed the gray thread and began wrapping it around the candles one by one, careful not to have it break. Emmett felt sweat drip from his forehead as he concentrated. Once he had made the diamond shape, he looked around the room to light the candles. He heard a metallic thud by his side and saw a silver lighter that shone in the light. No longer questioning it, he grabbed the lighter and quickly but carefully lit the 4 candles. Emmett looked at the candles in awe as if they were like fireflies in the night. He took a deep breath and shut his eyes. Eno era EW sa etinuer DNA router sol I eno eight away. Eno era eu sa etinuer DNA router sol I eno 8 uoi. Eno era EW sa etinuer DNA router sol I eno 8 uoi. Eno era EW sa etinuer DNA router sol I eno 8 uoi. He no longer felt like he was on the ground anymore, feeling a sudden gust of wind shoot him up in the air. Eno era iu sa itinuer DNA rutersol I eno 8 uoi. The man kept his eyes shut as he felt himself softly land on the ground. It was like he was lying on marble. Emmett, is that you? The ritual. Emmett inhaled sharply as he heard his voice. It was Ingo. After what felt like a minute had passed, he opened his eyes. He couldn't mistake it. It was his brother. Ingo was right there before him, but was a few steps away. The two were in what looked to be a white and green-tinted void. Emmett began to tear up as he looked at his brother. Ingo, too, began to tear up a bit. I've missed you, brother. Ingo nodded at Emmett's comment. As did I, my brother, as did I. Ingo's voice was almost croaky from seeing his brother. Emmett stepped forward to Ingo, getting a closer look at him. Wow! Emmett leaned closer to Ingo's face. You grew a beard. How long have you been gone for? Ingo looked away, crossing his arms. A while, and it felt like hell without you here. Emmett looked back up to Ingo, smiling. But we can always be together, forever and always, Emmett said with a smile. Then let's, my good brother in arms. Ingo cheered. As Emmett got closer, he felt the floor slip underneath him. He tripped. Ingo's eyes widened as he saw Emmett fall right into him. They both suddenly remembered one of the rules of the ritual. You are not allowed to touch them until the plane begins to glow red. The void wasn't even that red. It was still white, with only tiny bits of red. And like that, they felt their skin, muscle, bones, and veins stick together as if a fungus was growing over organic matter. Their limbs began to meld and fuse into one another, their organs and muscular tissues sewing together. Their faces stretched into one another like something was pulling the skin painfully tight into itself. Bones breaking and twisting were audible, bits falling to the ground. Their voices howled and screamed out as they began to painfully synchronize. The two writhed in pain on the floor, crying out to Arceus itself to stop their painful suffering. They grabbed at their necks, their bodies, even the fleshy, bloody seam that was tying them together, and started to scratch and dig at it. just to try and unfuse themselves or even trying to put each other out of their suffering. But it was futile. They both continued to scream and writhe frantically into the void. They cried and wailed out in agony and vociferation, their now melded and deformed hands reaching out to the sky until they both felt unconsciousness crash over them. They sharply inhaled as their eyes began to roll up into their heads. Their call to Arceus went mute as the floor beneath them slowly swallowed the two brothers like quicksand. Meanwhile, Elisa went for a stroll around the city streets of Nimbasa. She hadn't seen Emmett since she gave him advice about his brother. She wondered where he'd gone. It made her worry about him and his well-being. She passed by a few stores, looking at the displays of different items each one was showing off. One had mannequins with eye-catching clothing, and another had state-of-the-art kitchen utensils. It wasn't until she walked by a TV store where they displayed some of the said TVs playing the news on them. She took a few steps back and stopped to see what the report had to say.
In other news, there had been witness reports of a strange light coming from the station where subway bosses Emmett and Ingo had been previously seen, before mysteriously going missing weeks prior. Investigations are still underway on how this strange phenomenon has occurred. And now for the weather with...
Elisa's eyes widened as she sprinted to the subway station, thoughts racing about the brothers and whether that light in the tunnel was related. She felt sweat run down her face as she ran past people with their Pokemon. She slowed her pace, arriving at the subway station. Nobody was around the facility, like it had been untouched for decades. There was police tape covering the entrance, which had been torn up. Elisa had to figure out what happened to the brothers, even if it meant getting in trouble for trespassing. She stepped over the tape and began to enter the building. She felt a mixture of curiosity and hesitance building up in her as her hand reached for the door, but something inside her told her to press onward. She opened the door. Her pupils shrunk in fear. All the objects in the room had been mashed together, as if an art installation had gone wrong. Chairs were melded into each other at odd angles. The plants looked disfigured as they twisted in on themselves. And the machines were going into one another as if they were glitching. She went inside to get a better look. The entire room was an absolute mess. Some items were fused into the wall, and specks of mold splattered in perfect circles around the area. Elisa didn't know what to make of what she was seeing, and it was terrifying, but eerily peaceful. She looked to her side and saw the tunnel entrance, leading towards the subway. Elisa closed her eyes.
Ingo, Emmett, I'm coming.
She walked down the tunnel's entrance, now determined to get to the bottom of this whole thing. Once she entered the subway, she saw no train near the station. It was empty. The air was cold and thick. It made Elisa unnerved to her core. She went forward to the edge of the tracks and looked to her left and right. She looked to her left and stared into what looked to be a bright, blinking light in the distance. Elisa blinked at it, jumping down from the walkway and running to the light source. Elisa remembered to bring her Pokemon in case someone or something threatened her. The Pokeballs hung from the yellow belt that she had brought with her. She felt as if she ran for hours in that tunnel until she realized the light was moving away. Elisa, tired from running from a mysterious light, leaned against the tunnel walls to catch her breath. She looked down for a second, then back up to see that the light had gotten closer. She tilted her head as the light moved closer to her. She got back up and stood still, her hand hovering over the Pokeballs on her belt. Once the light was a meter from her, it lit up the dark passage. The shine made Elisa shut her eyes. Once the flash had passed, she opened her eyes and saw something that made her almost scream in absolute terror. It was the subway bosses. Their bodies were entangled into one another, The two faces fused into one with their clothing appearing to be crudely stitched together. Their eyes looked in opposite directions as their arms and legs twitched and swayed in random direction. One side of their face smiled, while the other had a frown. The subway boss pointed towards Elisa and opened their mouth, smiling with a reverberated voice that echoed through the tunnel.
Super, bravo, Elisa, let us be at
Elisa felt tears stream down her face as pure fear filled her mind.
Emmett? Ingo?
Her voice came out as a whimper as she stepped back. The creature tilted its head, now with an unnaturally wide smile that had an inhuman ambiguity of teeth, and said in a loud, familiar voice that sounded as if it was doubled.
all aboard.
Leader Elisa is challenged by reunited subway bosses Ingo and Emmett. Ingo and Emmett send out Garbarent. Elisa's face went pale as she looked to the messily fused Pokemon. It was a Garbodor and a Durant fused together in the same crude manner as the subway bosses. The limbs moved and twitched in a stiff and painful manner. It was there that Elisa knew that this was enough for her and needed to get out of there right now. She wanted to run away, but something stopped her. And it made her blood go cold. You can't run from a trainer battle.